Today is the second anniversary of President John Evans Atta Mills's death, but the Trade Unions Congress choose to remember him by mourning Ghana's weakening economy. Across the 10 regions of Ghana, organized labor went on strike and demonstrated to send a strong message that government should wake up and fix the economy. They put together 8 immediate point agenda to government.
We're also talking about the fact that government should halt the city depreciation. The way the city is running amok, it has created problems for everybody. Businesses are collapsing, workers are losing their jobs. So we want government to immediately do something about all these things.
I tell him that we brought them to power, so we can easily send them back. So they should be aware of what is going on.
Clearly, this is not the first time we're hearing these points, but the focus this time around is the introduction of the word immediate. How immediate is immediate? Are they being realistic? Can waving a magic wand solve Ghana's problems instantly? For the next 30 minutes, we will break down the issues. My name is Stephen Enti, and this is today's big story. Welcome back. This is today's big story. The hyped nationwide organized labor protest has ended. And here are the demands of the TUC. Well, the TUC wants immediate action to halt the depreciation of the cedi and rising cost of living. It also wants immediate policy initiatives and measures to ensure the provision of requisite and critical infrastructure, including putting on stream the gas pipeline and efficiency in the production and distribution of electricity and water, and to assure citizens against price hikes in these essential services due to inefficiency, lack of infrastructure, and the headlong depreciation of the cedi. The point 3, immediate point 3, is that immediate downward review of prices of petroleum products and a halt to the lazy and facile reflex of simply increasing the prices of these products as the cedi depreciates due to the mismanagement of the economy and poor fiscal policies. Point 4 is immediate and effective policy measures to ensure that Tema Oil Refinery TOR operates to full capacity. They also, point 5, wants immediate and concrete measures to ensure that the railway sector is revamped and the plight of the workers addressed. 6, immediate action by government and the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, to address the challenges in the implementation of the new pension scheme. And then 7, an immediate stop to the attempts by government to impose a pensions trust on public sector workers. Also, immediate action and effective measures to address the widespread perception of corruption in high office, which has reached unprecedented levels as well. These are the 8 points. Well, the question is that will the protest be the panacea to government's Ghana's economic woes? I beg your pardon. Well, to these protesters, they will continue until something positive happens.
In our 8-point resolution, we talked about several other things, including Tema Oil Refinery, and that the attention should be made to revamp Tema Oil Refinery. We can't be an oil production country whilst we destroy our only refinery. If we did that, we are only encouraging people to make money at the expense of the majority of the people. We also talk about railways. We also talk about the fact that the railways should be revamped if we want to really seriously undertake economic development. We're also talking about the fact that government should halt the city depreciation. The way the city is running amok, it has created problems for everybody. Businesses are collapsing, workers are losing their jobs. So we want government to immediately do something about all these things. We hope that government will listen with rapt attention.
For sure. Somebody wants to talk about.
We also talked about the development of a new port.
Please.
The development of a new port at Wabo. And we are saying that it's unfortunate that Parliament has passed the law. We have raised all other objections. But we wanted, if there should be any development of a port,
that since the economy started deteriorating, organized labor has been offering the government alternative measures, alternative ideas, alternative suggestions. We as organized labor believe in serious engagement. If we have had very serious engagement with the government on how these issues are going to be resolved, I don't think we have been here this morning. But when we speak in the room and we are not getting answers, this is what you see. So we are only expressing our dissatisfaction about the economy. Workers are going through. Workers are vulnerable.
Well, we know that things are difficult, as you're saying, and it's very difficult for the average Ghanaian to make ends meet with the rising cost of living. However, we know that the government is also concerned, and it must show concern that really he will do something about the situation now to turn things around for the betterment of Ghana.
What will come to you as the government showing concern? What kind of signal are you looking at?
Yeah, the government should look at the rising cost of living and do something about the high cost, the rising prices on the market. The taxes are becoming too much, and the government must do something. Yeah.
All Ghanaians, we believe that if you are a government and you are voted by us, you should listen to us. As we speak to you, TOR is not operating for a long time now. We have bust also down there. The BDCs have taken over bust. We will not allow this to happen. If it continues, I'm telling you, we have mapped out strategies to ensure that this becomes a continuous struggle, and we will ensure that the very industries that makes Ghana our living country, will make sure it becomes a focus for government and for all. We will ensure that.
Well, those are some of the protesters speaking to our man, Prince Minka, who we have in the studio now. He covered the protests in Accra today. Hey, Prince, good evening, and thanks for making time to join us. Today must have been a very busy day for you, going there and seeing all these numbers. Are there specific things that you saw which we perhaps didn't capture on TV, which you will share with us?
Well, what we also encountered was the fact that we had those that I would term as silent demonstrators. Now, these are people who did not come to the Obra Spot to join in the protest, but rather stood at the balcony of the offices and shouted and chanted whilst the protesters walked through the principal streets of Accra. But beyond that, just as you heard in the clips that we played, some of the protesters indicated that, look, if government does not deal with their concerns as a matter of urgency, they would rather want to press on their leaders to get them to embark on another demonstration. So those are some of the key highlights, as far as today's protest is concerned.
So how did you see the demeanor of the people? I mean, this is a protest that was widely touted and promoted. I mean, everybody was expecting some level of anger, some level of passion. Did you see that in the people?
It was quite clear. There was that level of anger, that level of passion amongst the people, the workers, especially those from the GMPC who had mentioned to us that they are not happy with the level of investment in the GMPC, and they are asking that government looks at some some contracts that are going to be put in place there, and they would want GMPC to be back on track in order to help rebuild our economy. But we'll bring you details of that particular one on News at 8. And talk about the passion and anger in the air. Again, I go back to those who were not necessarily part of the demonstration. I spoke to one gentleman who was going to work, obviously, and he explained bitterly how bad the economy is,
so it's more like there were a few people who turned up who were passionately demonstrating for everybody to see. But beyond that were those millions more who were supporting them, and if they had the opportunity, possibly will hit the streets.
Absolutely.
Are we seeing hope? I mean, in the demands, because I saw you ask specific questions of them. What exactly do you want to see? What specific action? And most of them were evasive. Did you see that they were just avoiding your questions, or they had no clue, and that perhaps they were following blindly their leaders who were calling them to protest without really understanding the issues?
You know what? One could say it that way, that, look, they perhaps were following blindly. You could also look at it this way, that they were stuck to what they know already. is the challenge. They know already as the challenge facing the country, which is, look, government needs to do something about the economy.
And I'm sure when you ask the question, they'll be like, are you serious? Can't you see?
Well, it's obviously.
You also asked the question that if they didn't get their demands, what next? Did you get that answer from them?
And like I mentioned, they would want to hit the streets again.
Hit the streets again. Well, Prince Minka, we're very grateful for your time. And Prince was at the Independence Square. He followed the march through to the brass spot to get some reactions from the people. We're grateful that he could join us here. So we will be joined in the studio again later by a chartered economist and a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. John Gachi. He will help us to analyze how realistic the demands of the TUC is. My name is Stephen Anti. This is today's big story, and as you know, we covered extensively the TUC organized labor protest today, and we're asking key questions of how what is immediate? I mean, how immediate is immediate? And we will discuss this issue. So, good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's big story. It's nice to have you. And maybe congratulations is in order. I didn't know that you've been conferred a doctorate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very grateful to have very intelligent people like yourself joining us. So, let me quickly run through some of the key points that they raise, and then we will talk through them. The immediate point number one the workers were demanding was the immediate action to halt the depreciation and rising cost of living, depreciation of the city and rising cost of living. Is such a demand realistic?
Well, first of all, we need to appreciate the fact that workers have the right to demonstrate when things are not going on well with them. It is visible across the country that things have gone up. Electricity, all utilities, petroleum products, everything have actually gone up as a result of especially depreciation. But the truth of the matter is that you do not solve issues of depreciation, the kind of depreciation we have in this country immediately. What I think that the labor unions should be looking at is to identify what measures to be used to solve the problem. I believe they claim in their demonstration that they have profiled some solutions. So they should put those solutions side by side, what government claims to be doing, and see whether it is, it correlates very well.
But talking about what government claims to be doing, is government doing anything at all? Or are they doing enough?
Well,
the measures that have been announced, have they worked?
For me, I look at this whole issue of arresting depreciation and, for that matter, correcting the economic distortions from medium to long-term perspective. That's where I am different from the politicians and the labor unions, because the scale of problem we have cannot be solved in the short term. It is better we address our mind to this very fact as we go along. We know that part of the issues relating to depreciation is export and import. So we ask ourselves, can we diversify our export within the time frame that they describe as immediately? The answer is clearly no.
No. So the process might continue.
Very good. But the point is, are there something being done to deal with the issue of import? For me, I say yes, some limited issues are being considered. Now, if you look at the gas project that they talk about, that gas project has a dual effect on the economic structure. Number one, it's one of the tools that is going to diversify the economy in the medium to long term. Then at the same time, it's going to limit the import bill of the country in the sense that the volume of crude oil that we import for our generating entities is going to reduce, because gas I mean, the means of energy sources is going to change somehow. And then the flow of gas will take place, and that is going to diversify.
Well, John, I will pause you because this is something that the finance minister raised in his response to some of the questions that we put to him. Let's listen to him. He was offering some hope. And then later, this is an exclusive interview to Joy News, and later we'll get onto the telephone line and speak to John Patel, who is an energy policy analyst, and we will continue from there.
You manage an economy not just in good times. You also manage an economy through its challenges. And that's my perspective. I think you need to empathize. I mean, being a manager, you must understand the situation, right? They are paid. And they see the city depreciating, imports prices going up. And because the majority of our expenditures are on imports, that means that they spend more than they are budgeted. So we must understand that also. But we must also explain why we have that situation. Like gold prices have fallen, cocoa prices fell. Luckily it's coming, and that's a sign of hope. Sometimes living around this time, we all glued to our television, waiting for the outcome of the election results. It's affected, you know, wait a minute, it affected productivity. We were also told in 2012 that a pirate ship, you know, broke the, you know, West Africa gas pipeline, right? We said it will be repaired within months. You remember during the campaign, His Excellency even joked that he was no longer going to give Ghanaians a promise as to when that pipeline will be fixed. It took almost all the period to about August of 2013 for that pipeline to be fixed. What is the effect on our economy? Instead of using gas, which has been reducing, and hydro, our cost of generating power, we had to start importing light crude, which made it easy to, more difficult because we had to pay more subsidies. You know, you don't want to pass on. So the economy went through this. So one of my responsibilities is, whilst I empathize with what is going on, I also have to explain why we are where we are. But we are also saying, because of the information that we have, which not all Ghanaians have, we are saying that we've had disruptions in gas supply from the West Africa gas pipeline. It gives us, Nigeria is expanding. They are the main source of supply. And because they are also expanding, they also use, you know. So when we finish our gas processing plants, which is near completion, right, we will have our own gas being fed into the West Africa gas pipeline, which will provide gas for our thermal plants. So apart from not importing a lot of light crude and therefore using foreign exchange and high, that's where one message of hope comes.
Well, this is, I will put the issue to Peter Mewu. It does, I don't know, but I need to find out. John Peter Mewu, if you're there, good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and good evening to you.
I'm not sure you heard the finance minister clearly, but does it surprise you that he admitted that perhaps the public is not privy to a lot of information? I mean, he mentioned that information we have, which not everyone has. Does this help public confidence in addressing concerns of the economy?
Not at all. One thing that I think we need to realize as a country is that issues of information has a lot to do with transparency and accountability. And so when you entrust power to somebody, it is expected that that person must relate back to those who give him the power, and on regular basis relate vital information that will be sustainable for the development of that person. If you hold on information, the implication that you have something to hide. Right.
So quickly, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I didn't want us to belabor that point too much, but I wanted to put to you that one of the points, point one, that the union raised is the immediate and effective policy to make Tema Oil Refinery operate at its full capacity. Is this immediate demand realistic?
Well, I think it's realistic. What we need to know as a country is that world refinery margins are reducing all over the world globally. And so if Tema Refinery will be able to reduce their operational costs, of course, as it stands now, then that makes it more competitive with international operational margins.
And you would say it's a realistic demand?
If that happens.
But I mean, to say immediately, that really makes it look like so urgent. Do you think that government can meet such a demand instantly?
That can only be done if government goes ahead to involve other management into the refinery. But as it is now, if you leave it solely to the locals, as we witnessed over the QS,
right.
I am telling you the inefficiency that will be added to the cost of refinery will be higher.
Right.
You end up paying higher.
What about the removal of subsidies? They also make that demand that subsidies, the subsidies that were removed should be restored, etc. I mean, reducing the fuel prices and all. These demands are a bit vague, aren't they?
Well, of course, these subsidies all over the world, it's not good for any country. But the kind of subsidy we are entertaining in this country is as a result of currency exchange differential. And this is not a direct subsidy that has to do with systematic adjustment of international prices in the crude market. The argument, therefore, is that if there is exchange differential as a result of mismanagement, do I have to pay for that mismanagement? We have entrusted into the hand of this government, the ability to be able to manage the rate of depreciation of the city. That is an economic identity. If for some reason they are not able to do that, and they have to reflect back on the consumer to pay, then I think consumers have equal right to complain.
Right, Mr. Amewa, I'll have you hold briefly so that I can get a quick reaction from Dr. Gachi, who is here in the studio. I saw you nodding, means that you had some point to raise about some of the key issues that he mentioned.
Well, I think it's very clear that the word immediate must be understood.
Yes, and we must put it in the right context.
Yes, and as at now, the labor unions have not explained to us what they mean by immediate. For you to bring Tema's oil refinery back to operations, you need to restructure the place. You can't just pump huge sum of money into that refinery.
It will be the same problem.
To be the same problem. Therefore, immediate solution to Tema oil refinery, what I would consider to be immediate is to put structure in place on the way to restructure Tema oil refinery. That is what I think can be done immediately. But to pump money into Tema oil refinery immediately at the demand, I think it would be imprudent, should not be actually followed.
And the president made mention of the fact that some of the subsidies had to be removed so that we can service the public debt available. But here, the workers are saying, go back. And
I think we are not managing subsidy very well in the country. Subsidy is part of the structure of this economy. Remove all subsidy and you see the prices on the market. You see inflation. So we shouldn't treat subsidy...
So it's a management problem?
Yes.
And how should it be addressed?
See, subsidy should be directed to efficient national transportation system. If you do that and you offload whatever subsidy you have to the national efficient transportation system, then the ordinary person will benefit from the subsidy. But as it is now, you put subsidy on petroleum products, it doesn't benefit the...
It goes back into the rich pockets.
Exactly. So that is not proper. I believe the government has some idea about this transport system. That is why I think in President Kufuor's time, he introduced the Metro Mass to cater for that. But it is not managed efficiently to cater for that. You see in the supplementary budget, they have also mentioned about 40 buses from Scania in Sweden to augment the Metro Mass. So they have the idea that the best approach is to strengthen the public transportation system. It is only then that when you remove subsidy from the petroleum product...
But do you think restoring it, the economy can take the heat of restoring it as the workers are demanding?
I do not think that restoring subsidy now is the best approach. What does it do to your deficit? Don't we blame the system that we have huge deficit, and that's one of the reasons why we have the economic situation we are going through. So I do not think that those are the solutions. The solutions are very clear to us. The only problem we have is that we think, and I think we need to blame the government and we need to blame any other...
And you should have expected that the finance minister would have brought out concrete measures. He was only giving us reasons, attributing reasons why the situation is so for which we should accept.
Really. Let me complete my point.
Okay.
I think we need to blame the government for not managing information about the economy. You see, when you're going through hard times, proper information management is very, very crucial. So they have not been able to do that. So the picture is created as if the scale of problem we are going through could be solved within 1 year, which is not clear. How can you diversify export within 1 year? How can you reduce significantly importation in this country within 1 year? It is not attainable. But that is a picture we have created in the mind of the people. Yeah. So if you see people asking you to stop depreciation immediately, it's because they don't understand. Because they don't understand. So we need to actually come down and let the people know. Let the people understand that the gas project you are actually engaging in has a solution for this thing, but not in the immediate time, but in the medium to long term. And other project that you put on board, let the people see the project and let the people understand how that project links to the solutions of this country. But that is not being done.
Dr. John Gachi, we're very grateful. And then I'll quickly bounce onto the phone line. John Patel for your final words. I know that we've said a lot about the economy, about depreciation of the cedi, restoring the Tema oil refinery to full capacity. What will be your recommendation of measures government or civil society should put in place to solve the energy problems facing us once and for all?
Well, I think, first of all, going forward with regard to the issue of subsidy, what we need to do is to begin to re-examine some of the levies that are imposed at the export price. For instance, the exploration levy, the boss levy, the toll recovery debt levy, and then the road fund levy. As a country, we have to find out if really these levies are really important and how transparent are they, their recovery systems have been so far. The toll recovery debt levy, for instance, I don't know who is responsible for that. So as a country, let us see if these levies are becoming a burden and that the monies generated from this levy are not really put into any good use. Then, of course, we need to remove them. Energy issues, in fact, are not short-term issues. You can't resolve them within 1 to 2 years. Sometimes it takes, a minimum of 5 years to address some of these problems. But you need to put in a very realistic, programs in place. If you look at the World Bank recommendation on our energy for this country that the World Bank presented somewhere last year, most of the recommendations are not being implemented by this government. I call on them to go back to that book and pick out some of the critical issues and adhere to the recommendation that the World Bank has proposed. I think that's the way we can go forward to address our energy solution. Because the mismanagement are still very high in most of the state agencies.
Right, thank you.
We can't continue to arrive at efficient energy uses when there's a very high level of mismanagement.
Right, thank you very much, John Peter Amewu, and then we're also grateful to Dr. John Gachi, who joined us in the studio. Thanks to you for making time to watch today's big story. We'll be right back with Marian Turi on the interactive segment. Stay with us.